Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2022 action and adventure film Uncharted, a film that is directed by Ruben Fleischer and it stars Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, Mark Wahlberg as Victor Sullivan, Antonio Banderas, Sophia Ali and Tati Gabrielle. Now this film is based on the popular game series on PlayStation. It's a game series I'm very, very familiar with. I've played all the games several times. They are amongst my favourite games of all time. They've been ripe to be converted into movies for years. They've been trying to do it for a long, long time. And if you've ever played the games, then you know that the games, when you play them, you're almost playing a movie. So you've always thought when you've played them, oh, these would be great movies if they could just get it right in regards to the casting and stuff. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later in my review. But essentially, the story revolves around Tom Holland, who plays Nathan Drake, who gets separated from his brother when they're young. He is working and hustling, and he meets Mark Wahlberg's character, Victor Sullivan, who's like... he acquires rare artifacts, things like that. He recruits Nathan Drake and they go off looking for lost treasure. And that's all I'm really going to say on the story, because there's not an awful lot else I want to say on the story, if I'm honest, because it's not very good, the story. I've got to say, guys, I've really gutted. I'm really, really gutted. I'm looking at this from two angles, if you like. If you go in to watch this film and you don't really know what the Uncharted games are, or if you've never played one, but you might have the knowledge that it's based on a game, but you've never played them and you don't really know what they are, you might get some enjoyment here with this film. It's not a bad film in that sense. It's very, very polished. It's got some very, very exciting action sequences that look good. It's slick, it's polished, it's all that kind of stuff. It's modern, and there's probably, you know, if you look at it with those eyes, it is a little bit of fun to be had here with this film. But I'm sorry, but the others, like myself, looking at this as a fan of the Uncharted games, it's mostly pretty garbage, and that really hurts to say. Really, really hurts to say. I mean, I think we all suspected when we saw the trailer, or the trailers last year, what to expect, really. And essentially, if you looked at those trailers and you'd already made your mind up what to expect, you're not going to get any surprises here. You're just not, because you don't get any surprises here. It's exactly as the trailers portrayed it. First thing I want to talk about is the casting. Tom Holland, we all love Tom Holland as Spider-Man in the Marvel films. You know, he's perfect. He's absolutely cast perfectly in that role. And then the flip side of that coin is he's absolutely, completely miscast in this role. Tom Holland, look at me, the people that made this film. Tom Holland is not Nathan Drake. Never going to be Nathan Drake. Maybe in 10 years, you know, 15 years tops, when he's aged up, matured up, got a bit more muscle mass, a bit more maturity about him, maybe there would be a chance. Now at this stage in his career, not a chance. No way on earth is Tom Holland Nathan Drake. And if any of you want to look at who was the perfect Nathan Drake, go and look at the YouTube fan-made Nathan Drake mini-film that starred Nathan Fillion. Perfect casting. Now, I'm not saying they should have cast Nathan Fillion here in this film, because he's probably too old now. If they'd have done this film 10 years ago, Nathan Fillion, that's it. That's the only person you can cast as Nathan Drake. They should have cast either an unknown or a bit more thought gone into it, because Tom Holland is not Nathan Drake. Nathan Drake is hilarious, generally speaking, in the games. He's always cracking one-liners. He's very, very funny, and he's tough as nails. And while Tom Holland tries, it's kind of weak one-liners. He doesn't really feel like he fully commits to it. And physically, he's just not up to the role. He's up to the role of Spider-Man, because we all know he's very athletic in regards to gymnastics and all that kind of stuff. But Nathan Drake is hard as nails. Do you know what I mean? He could take an absolute beating and still come back. He's like Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones. He's basically a modern day Indiana Jones. So it just doesn't work at all in this film for me. But that's nothing on the poor casting of Sully, Victor Sullivan, played by Mark Wahlberg. And again, if you've never played the games, go and have a look on YouTube and type in, and have a look at some videos on the Uncharted games. Sully is the guy with the grey hair and the mustache, who's like, he's like a granddad figure to Nathan Drake, never mind a father figure. Mark Wahlberg, whoever cast Mark Wahlberg in this film wants shooting. Mark Wahlberg, I don't have a major issue with, but look at his track record when it comes to movies like this. Minimal effort, doesn't care. It feels like it's a paycheck job for him. So number one, he doesn't look like the character. And number two, he doesn't act like the character. It just is appalling casting, putting Mark Wahlberg in this film as Victor Sullivan. And then you've got all the other stuff going on in this film that just does not work. Beside the casting, you've got dull villains. Antonio Banderas, I've no idea why they cast him in this film. And there's a betrayal that takes place later in the film that you can see coming a mile away. Well, there's a couple of betrayals that you can see coming a mile away in this film. So dull villains, dull plot. It should be high energy, excitement, adventure, treasure hunting. And it never really gets you going at all in regards to excitement, other than when they give you some impressive action sequences. There's 2 or 3 in the film. The airplane thing's good, and that's kind of ripped straight from one of the games. There's some like ships swinging about at the end, like old piratey type ships swinging about. That's pretty good, if unbelievable, but it's good. And yeah, essentially the treasure hunters, these guys. And you never get that sense of enjoyment and excitement at looking for the treasure. And that's mainly because Tom Holland's character, Nathan Drake's heart's not really in it. He's kind of mainly looking for his brother. Now, and a bit of backstory here, if you don't know, the first 3 games of the Uncharted films, we never knew Nathan Drake had a brother. There was never that baggage. Then he was introduced in the 4th game, and it worked, absolutely worked. But it's always been about treasure hunting, these games, first. For action, adventure, treasure hunting, and like staying alive by the skin of your fingernails or skin of your teeth. And no, this film doesn't have any of that. I'm absolutely distraught by it. But I'm going to try and be really fair in my judgment of the film. As a fun popcorn movie, it's certainly watchable, especially if you're not a fan of the game series. You'll have some fun here. It's not an awful film in that sense. For anybody else who's a fan of the game series, this film is an abomination in many, many ways. But I'm going to be fair in my approach, and I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. If I was scoring it as a fan of the Uncharted games, it's down to 4. It's down to 3 out of 10. And that's for me how bad a job they've done of turning the games into a movie. But for anybody else, there's some fun to be had here, so I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I'm absolutely distraught, but I'm not surprised, I suppose. So thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are after watching this film, and I'll be back, of course, with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.